Do you hit your chip shots fat or thin, or sometimes both in any given round? Well, it's usually the same mistake, and I'll show you how to correct it and improve your chipping game in just a matter of minutes. I've given so many short game lessons, and when I discuss this topic with my students, I rarely have anybody that's ever heard of what I'm going to talk about today. And in my opinion, it's probably the biggest cause for people to fail chipping and pitching around the green. And what I mean is that they don't understand how uneven lies affect how they set up, and therefore affects how good a contact they make. If I set up on a fairly level lie and I take some practice swings, you'll see where my club strikes the turf. That's where I play the ball. I want to play the ball at the bottom of my swing, but I have to find the bottom of my swing. And you'll see on a fairly level lie, I'm going to bottom out in this same spot every time. What changes, though, is when I get on uneven lies, and around the green you're going to have an uneven lie more often than not. It changes where my club strikes the ball. As I go more uphill and I take the same swing, you will see that my club is going to strike the turf a lot more forward in my stance than on a level lie. And because I strike it more forward, that's where I have to play the ball. It'll add loft to the club, so I have to allow for that to happen in my shot, either fly it farther or take a less lofted club. The opposite is true if I go back downhill, that the club's going to strike the turf behind my back foot. And when I get a severe downhill lie, I have to take a practice swing and see where that's going to happen. That'll de-loft the club because my handle will go forward as the club goes backwards, and so I'll have to allow for a lower shot, and I'd probably use my most lofted club in the bag to execute that shot, which would be a 60-degree wedge in my case. So keep that in mind. If the ball's above our feet, here's where I would set up with a shot off a level lie, but when it's above my feet, you'll see that my club's going to strike the turf a lot farther away from me. And so I have to put the ball farther away from me to make good contact. The same thing will happen if the ball's below my feet. Somewhere in here is where I would strike the turf on a level lie, but for my club to reach the ball, it's going to strike the turf a lot closer to my feet. If I don't accommodate that with my ball position, I'm going to miss-hit shots. Learn to take practice swings when you're on uneven lies, and it will make a huge difference if you put the ball where your club is bottoming out on all these different situations. If there's one drill that'll help your chipping and pitching more than anything, it's this one. You have to learn to control the bottom of your swing, and it has to be either directly under the ball or slightly in front. And it's as simple as using an alignment stick and only having it 3 or 4 inches behind the ball. One of the most common mistakes I see with players is they think the chipping motion is like a putting motion, and so the club head is too low on the backswing. And when that happens, too low on the backswing, well, then I'm always going to bottom out behind the ball, and that's why you get to start having chunks. And then when you get sick of chunking it, you're going to blade it over the green. So learn to use an alignment stick. A chipping motion is much more up and down than a putting stroke. It's not a putting stroke. It's not side to side. It's more up and down. And by using this alignment stick with practice, here I'm on a pretty level lie. You can look at my video on uneven lies to see what to do when you're on an uneven lie. But on a relatively flat lie, I'm going to bottom out right there every time. You can see it's where I have the ball in my stance. I'm going to set up there, and I'm going to be able to bottom out correctly and make good contact. So learn to use this alignment stick, learn to bottom out correctly, learn to make a more up and down motion with the club head, and you'll be a better chipper. Set up and go this way. Good, go ahead and set up for me. So Patrick's a pretty good chipper of the ball, but he does one thing wrong that I see with a lot of players. The difference in chipping and a full swing is angle of attack with the club. Go ahead and set up an address there for me, Patrick. So one of the things he does too much is he has too much shoulder tilt at address for a chip shot. His right shoulder is too low. It's lower than his left. Because of that, that causes him to bottom out easily behind the ball or to raise up and blade it. So he's going to have trouble with his low point, especially in a chip shot where we're playing the ball farther back in our stance. So one of the things that I like to see with a player is I like to see they get their shoulders either level or maybe even their right shoulder a little bit higher than their left at address. And you ought to be able to tell that promotes for a steeper backswing, can you tell?
Yeah, immediately.
Yep. Good, immediately. So go ahead and chip it from there with more level shoulders, and you'll see that your contact's a lot better.
Much cleaner, yeah.
So if he was hitting driver, the ball would be forward in his stance. Go ahead and widen your stance like it's a driver. Forward in his stance, and he's going to get this tilt. That way we get a positive angle of attack with driver, 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees optimally. But with a chip shot, we would like to be -8, -10 maybe on angle of attack. And then just by simply getting your shoulders on a different position, more level, or like I said, with the right shoulder for a right-handed player, even higher than the left, it'll help promote for a much steeper backswing, and you'll have much cleaner contact, and it'll really help Patrick a lot.
Good.
Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Awesome.
All right.